Hello, everybody, and welcome. This is One Day Today. This is episode 117. A new day and a new experience of ourselves in the world. The thing I'm discovering in my journey, use the analogy of a roller coaster. Life is never as linear as, we, at least I'll speak for myself. As a kid, you think life is going to be like this. I'm going to go to college. I'm going to get a job. I'm going to get married. I'm going to get kids or whatever, whatever it is that we see as the path. And it's in reality it is a it is a roller coaster. And as we ride that roller coaster of our own journey, you know the the valleys are never expected, and the mountains are never where we think they are. At least from the vantage point of the valley, the mountain is never where we think it is, and the valley never comes when it's when where it counts most of with the actions we take, and with our purpose, and what we're up to, and what we're building in this world for ourselves, for our families, for our communities. you know that purpose that we when we're on our journey, where it's important to bring courage is when we're most afraid. When it's important to bring peace is when there's war. When it's important to bring you know when there's any experience of suffering or of pain, it's like that's when our courage and you know our ability to see the opportunity in the scariest situations in our lives are really important. And it's something I'm discovering for myself, but also just at this point in the world. There's still pandemic. There's a new war that has been talked about, and now as actions are being taken, and there is fear, there is chaos, but that doesn't change what power you and I have today to really plant the seeds of love, of laughter, of joy, of beauty, for ourselves, but also for one another, because ultimately it comes back to us when we can, in the face of the scariest, most turbulent, you know dark points of our lives, when we can find the courage to lift others up, and to contribute with the unique gifts that we have, with the purpose that we've declared, that in our hearts is always there. Once we uncover all the stories of who we're not, all the things that happen to us, the fears, the opinions, the thoughts, the emotions, like when we actually peel that onion, on the bottom of that is really a discovery of who we are truly, and what we can create is what we declare, what we say, how we value ourself as our word, and what deep down we have in every moment is an opportunity to make a choice to lift others up. And in the face, and I'll say, and that's what this space is about. In the face of all the things happening in the world, there are people up to big things, and there are people that are just committed to something greater than themselves. And that's what this space is about, is focusing on the beauty, the courage, the people that are just up to great things despite what's happening in the world, and despite their circumstances. So thank you for being with us. I'm excited to have both of our guests here, which we'll introduce shortly. So first, let me introduce my co-host, Matthew.
What's up, brother man?
How you doing, man?
Doing all right. You guys hear me okay today?
Hear you just fine.
Cool. Yeah. Something that came just as you were talking. You'll find whatever you're looking for. So if you're looking for worries, things to be worried about, if you're looking for things that you're scared of, if you're looking for whatever, that's what you're going to find. If you're looking for beauty, if you're looking for opportunity, if you're looking for lessons, that's what you'll find. Like this world, it's not good or bad, right or wrong, as far as I can tell. It's none of those things. It just is what it is. And how we respond to it is really the only thing I feel like we can control. Like that's this war in Ukraine, Russia invading Ukraine right now. There's nothing I can do to stop that. Absolutely nothing. And this may not be the last war. Like, this is something that humanity has been doing for hundreds of thousands of years, and may continue doing for 100,000 years. Who knows? But what I can do is I can look for the opportunity to learn, to grow, to become more loving in those situations. Like whatever situation I'm facing, the question isn't why me. It's what can I learn from this? And that shift, like I feel like that's the shift that we've been pointing everybody to on the show for a long time. It's that shift away from life happens to us to life happens for us. I think it was Stephen Levine who said, "Change the metaphor, change the world," and that's exactly what he meant. Like instead of to, for. Instead of being at the effect of, being the cause of. Who knows if we're ever going to create a more loving world? Like, who knows? But we can create a more loving space around us. We can be more loving. I can be more loving. I can encourage my friends and my family to be more loving. I can encourage those who I meet to be more loving. I can be an example. However far that reaches, I don't have control over that. All I can do is just be me, be real, be loving as best I can.
Yeah, I think there's a lot. I mean, I just, in my own discovery, it's like when there are things in the world or in myself that, or in other people, like that, it comes from listening into the existence of love. It's listening for those opportunities especially when it's the most difficult, when it's hardest to be honest, or hardest to just speak our truth. It's honoring ourselves and others when we're able to actually be that in the face of those circumstances that are scary. And I want to introduce our first guest. Because there's a quote that I'll share from her. But before I want to introduce Christy, she's actually one of the authors in our book coming out this fall. We're having a launch event for it. But Christy is one of our co-authors in our book, Together We Rise: Unleash Your Gifts and Light Up the World. And why we're creating this book, why we're creating this movement is a platform for people up to amazing things who are creating a new paradigm for what we're just speaking about, for love in the face of war, for courage in the face of fear. And I'm just it's an honor to have Christy with us in this movement. So please welcome everybody to the stage. Welcome back to the stage, Christi Corradi.
Hi, it's so great to be here. What a fun place to be, other than Italy.
Well, soon Italy too.
Yes, yeah.
Well, it's great to have you back, Christy.
Thank you.
I want to share here. I have a quote of yours. I'm going to show off your quote here.
I'm going to try some fancy new production stuff today.
So, here we go. So, change the world with the power of your thinking. And I want to let you share about what that means to you and how you discovered that. But just real quickly, before you share, what do you see when what did you see for yourself that you could change the world with the power of your thinking?
I've had lots of experiences where I've seen that take place. And one of the stories that I learned about, or it was some scientific thing, I'm more of the artist type, but was the whole butterfly effect, which is that they could see that there was a change in Europe when in South America, the butterfly fluttered its wings, and that changed the weather effect in another country. And it is science, it's natural, it is both physical law as well as universal law, that what we put into the law is what we get out of it. I used to work with teens a lot and teach them a lot of these principles and ideas that I live by. And to illustrate this one time, I did a little skit of Julia Childs. And I came out with a blender, and I said, this is like the law. And it responds to everything you put into it, right? Doesn't matter what you put into it, it responds the same to it. And so but I came out like Hi, I'm Julia Childs, and I came from I came from the One Mind Shopping Center, and I have this bag that says One Mind. I said, we have all kinds of goodies in here. We have a little bit of ice cream, ooh, yummy, and a smoothie. We have a bunch of raspberries. Oh, here's a pear with a little boo on it. Ooh, ick. And a little Tabasco. Who doesn't love Tabasco on their eggs in the morning? And of course, there's coffee. Oh, yum, yum, yum. And then I say, so whatever you put into the law, it responds the same to. And so I put in a dollop of ice cream, a few blueberries, and then I go, and coffee, can't forget the coffee and a little bit of Tabasco. And I turn on the blender and it goes, because it's got coffee beans, not just coffee, right? It was coffee beans. And then I go, this is just like the law. Whatever you put into it, you get out of it. And I pour it into this glop, glop, glop into a glass. I said, so instead, what we want to do is we want to be really sure about what we put into the law. And so I get another blender, a clean one, right? And so we want to put ice cream and smoothie. And I had put the icky part of the pear in. Now I go, and the good part of the pear. And we blend that up. And now who wants this smoothie? So it really is a great illustration. I hope you see that too. Is that whatever you put into the universal law, your thinking. I have a quote from my book, which is actually from an author back in the 20s named Wallace Wattles, my good friend Wally. And he says, there is a thinking stuff from which all things are made, and in its original state, permeates, penetrates, and fills the interspaces of the universe. A thought in this substance produces the thing that is imagined by that thought. You can form things in your thought, and by impressing your thought upon the formless substance, can cause the thing you think about to be created. And so in comparison to the blender, it's like our conscious thought is what we create more of. And now I tell people that all the time, pay attention to your thinking. They say, oh, I know all about that. But what I know is they know about it. They don't know it, or their life would reflect that. And they would have that experience. Now, to go even deeper in regard to the fact that we have world events that often, we've been through the corona, we're still in the corona virus, and now we have war breaking out, and just a lot of things going on in the world, and how do we change that? How do we change that one with just the one little eye, like you were talking about? And yeah, Matthew, you're absolutely right. It's like, how can you start with how can I create my environment as positive? Now, I don't say we need to ignore things around us. We need to pay attention to everything around us, but we get to choose. Like you said, it's neutral. We get to choose on what energy we put on it. When we had politics going on, and I had lots of clients that would, we've got to get rid of them, and we've got to do, and all of these things. I said, think about the energy that you are putting out. You are creating more of that you don't even want. So now when we're thinking about this war, and Abram, you said, can we ever have a loving world? We can have a loving world to the expansion of our individual love and paying attention to that love. So what I tell my clients to do in situations like this is to look at everything, everyone, and say, namaste. Namaste means the divine in me recognizes the divine in you. And we don't have to like the actions. We don't have to like the circumstances, but this is the butterfly effect. When you think your thoughts, and you put them into the universe. I have a friend that says every time 2 or more people come together to do this work, we change the frequency of 90,000 people in the world without them even being in our presence. So we can either, like one of the two of you said, we can either, I think it was you, Matthew, that you can either bring your thinking down and create more of that, or you can find a way to be for something and against nothing. Now, the practice in that, I mean, not to be against war, how can you do that? But the practice is first, how do I go to being for something? Well, I'm for the people that are involved in this, the people on the ground, the people that live their lives in the UK, Ukraine, and Russia. I've been to Russia. I've stayed in people's homes in Russia who I know and love and adore. And I am sure that that is not their energy. So instead of thinking the energy of Russia invading the Ukraine, this is not, of course, what I thought I would speak about, but that I know those people would never want to bring harm on anyone, right? And yet it's saying Russia. So instead, what I do is I think it was a couple named Valeria and Volodya, and we stayed in their apartment in Moscow, and they were just like, they had all these beautiful folk art where you walked into their house and it was like a museum. To get up to their house, it was like you have to put your finger in a burnt out elevator button, right? And it's all cement. But then you go up, and this is the way we have to work with our thinking. You go up into their place, walk in, and it was like a museum with beautiful folk art that I had just seen in the Russian folk art, folk museum I'd gone to. And they were both artists in the film industry there in Russia, you know. And so my focus right now is the love I have for those people. I also know a woman that has a ministry in the Ukraine, and I've met some of the kids that came over with her from that. And so my focus is right now is I am going to send all the love and blessings that I possibly can. Now people go, oh, that's just passive. That's that foo-foo positive energy stuff or whatever. I will guarantee you that it'll make a bigger difference than you getting down and wallowing in the mess. And if it's just one action that's moving you in that forward towards peace, towards love on our planet, that one step makes a difference. How do I know this? I see it all the time in even sometimes in my relationship with my husband. You know, the great optimist married the great pessimist, but I love him dearly and he loves my optimism. And I will say sometimes I tolerate his pessimism, but I see how he navigates the very same path that I'm on. And sometimes it's just like misery. And I'm like in total joy. And so that is one way that I know this is absolutely true. Now, is he a realist? Yes. Am I not a realist? I would say I'm probably more realistic because I really understand the universal principles and I apply those everywhere. This is from the law of thinking, and our thoughts do create our experience. Now, when I first discovered this, and when I was knowing about it but not knowing it, I had well, first I grew up with a grandmother that was pretty open-minded and forward-thinking in this way, but I had lost touch with that because of the way that people thought I was strange and out there and things like that. But then when I came back around to getting in touch with understanding the universal principles, I was in a deep study of this. And I was also moving to a new location. I had been up in Seattle, and I wanted to go to graduate school in Southern California. So I moved down there, had all kinds of circumstances happen to me, and I was a victim. I was such a victim. And I had somebody say to me one day, you know, go hear this woman speak. She is amazing. And Christi, I can't help you. She was actually the chiropractor I was working with, as long as you continue to be a victim. And I went, I'm not a victim. It happened to me. Oh, that's a victim, right? So I went to hear Dr. Peggy Bassett. She was at the Centers for Spiritual Living down in Huntington Beach at the time. It was a congregation of about 2,000 people. And I uh, began learning about the power of my thinking. And I was being stalked at the time. I had an accident in my work. The boss blamed me. It actually was an accident that these lumber fell on him, and I was trying to stop them and tore my sternum. But he thought I pushed those on him and broke his leg. And it was just like boom, boom, boom everywhere. And when I got to go to this church to go listen to this woman speak, the doors were closed because I couldn't find the place. And I was angry and upset. And like, how can they keep me out of this place? I came here to do this. Well, I couldn't see the sign on the door says quiet, please, prayer in process, right? I went and found a different way around, and I go storming in, bumping into people and everything. And 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 then, well, that's another story. But then through my study with that teacher and understanding that I could, even by my attitude, and just start with baby steps, that I could begin to create my experience through my thinking. And I did that, and I actually got accepted into Claremont Graduate School, which is one of the biggest schools in the art schools in the nation. And and during that time, and I was looking for a home to live and all these things, and things kept falling apart. And I met this one person, and he asked me if I wanted to go camping. And I was a city girl. Even though I grew up in Oregon, I was a city girl. And I'm like, oh, okay, I'll go camping. I had to carry my own backpack, and I had to have the right shoes and all of this stuff. And there was like 14 of us going camping, and they were really great people. I was loving them. And so we started in a group, but people spread out over time. And the friend that I'd gone with actually had an interest in one of the other girls on the trip. It was a platonic relationship between us, but he was interested in this other girl over there, right? So he's wandering along, and I'm going slow. I was the slowest one there, right? And he finally says, we're going to sit and talk for a little bit. Why don't you go on and catch up with the other people and stay high and to the right? And this was in the high Sierras. And I start heading off into the high Sierras, and I'm like, wow, I'm a mountain girl now. And I keep walking. I don't see anybody. And all of a sudden, I come to a cliff and a huge valley and snowy mountains all around. And I freaked out. I panicked. I mean, why not? I'm in the high Sierras. I am lost. And I'm like, what am I going to do? Well, in this study that I was in, they were teaching us to meditate. I didn't know. This was like 30 something years ago. I didn't know what meditation was. And I thought, oh, you have to lay on your back to do this. You have to, blah, blah, but I better get myself calmed down because I was really panicking. So I threw off my backpack. I did do a little bit of crying and screaming. And I called out for people. My voice would just echo out over the mountaintops. And there was snow on those mountains out there. That was scary too. So eventually I came and I saw this rock that was right there. And it was flat, but it was, those jagged stones like you have in the high Sierras. And I thought, I'll lay down here, and it was painful. But I thought, this is all part of meditating. And so I laid down on this platform, and I started trying to do what I knew as meditation. Well, in my art, I had been doing sculptures and exploring goddesses and things like that. And as I laid there, I actually began to feel the sky start to come into me, and the mountains and that water that had Gerardia come into me. And I went, wow, it doesn't mean to hurt me. It's not here to hurt me. Oh, and then I had an image of a goddess in my imagination. And this goddess came to me and said, if you go back to where you are, you're not lost. If you try to go forward, it's dangerous. And I went, oh my gosh. So, first of all, that's the power of the image. And I work a lot in my work with the image and use it for healing. And the second thing, I just got up and I went back, and it didn't take me more than 25 minutes. I walk into the campsite and I sit there. There were some other people around. I sat there and waited. And eventually, when my friend got to the other camp, they said, where's Christi? And they all came back and saved me. Now, you may wonder how thinking applies to that, but think if I had panicked. Okay, think if I wouldn't have had the tools to know that somehow I can create. Now, it showed up in an image, right? But I could create something that could save me. Now, that's a very extreme story. I don't tell that story often, but it was very powerful in my life and helped me begin to see how my thinking creates my experience. And so I have begun, that was 30 years ago, and I've begun to work on that since then. And I have the most amazing life. I help people themselves have the most amazing life. And even in this moment in time where we're in a disruptive history, I see the divine in everything, and I let my divinity see that divinity. And so I hope that you stop knowing about how to change your thinking and start using your thinking to change your life.
Wow. I love how you brought that all back home. It's beautifully said. I thank you for sharing, Christi. It's just beautiful and powerful, and and just kind of like bringing it full circle, because you're just sharing about you, and but how when it comes to like a global conflict or a geopolitical conflict in the world being as interconnected as it is, the butterfly effect, we may not even see it all, like the impact of our actions. But one thing that I do recognize is like, it goes both ways. When people are saying it's, just look at just look at social media and feel good about life. That's my experiment. It's like,
I'll give you a clue about that is watch your guest list, or, watch your friends list. Cause I keep that in control, and I actually have pretty positive Facebook posts.
I'm exaggerating to make the point is that there are narratives that that would say how terrible the life is and how great life is, and it's just accepting and seeing them as narratives, because a lot of people who are in the world say this is World War III, and to them that's what this is, like that's what, like, and they perpetuate without even realizing it the thoughts of, oh, this is happening, this is war in Europe, that means World War III. And then they go about their day saying, hey, did you hear World War III is happening? And it's like, so we're acting, we're living into World War III. Yeah. But the thing is, it goes both ways. And that's like, and that's what you're sharing is kind of a testament to, is like, when we create, regardless of our circumstances, when we, in the face of that, when we actually create, like what is an alternative to World War III? I could create World War III, or I could create, understanding between Ukrainians and Russians, or the world's understanding of individuals who places that you stay when you go to visit Russia and go visit Ukraine. It's like, those are the people, and like your interaction with them actually makes a difference.
Yeah, somebody asked the Dalai Lama how when people prosecuted his country and his religion, how could he still be unconditionally loving towards China? And he says, because I'm unconditionally loving towards the people. And that's where we want to send our hearts and be in that place, is sending that. And one of the ways that you can really tell that this works is, think about when you've gone to a party and you've walked in and it's boring and dour, right? And how do you feel when you walk into that party? Now walk into a party where it's exciting and jubilant and people are happening. Feel how you feel. Okay, that shows the power of how we show up in the world.
I wonder if there's any other like practical exercises that you've experienced that demonstrate that principle. Like one for me, so from the Hawaiian tradition, there's this idea of manifesting the blue feather, and it's kind of the first thing that a lot of people get taught when they start learning about the Hawaiian tradition of manifestation and these laws, these natural laws. But basically, all you do is you just hold the image of a blue feather in your head, and like just in your mind's eye, and then just go about your day. And if you do this, and you can really hold that image, I will promise you, at some point in the near future, you will find a blue feather. Like it will come into your life some way, shape, or form. And the reason why they chose a blue feather is because it's a rare color. Like there's not many birds that have blue feathers. They're kind of hard to find. I actually had. I learned that exercise years and years and years ago, and about a couple months ago, I just started thinking about it again. I was like, okay, all right, we'll try this again. We'll see what happens. And so I started holding the blue feather in my mind. 3 days later, I go get into the truck, and my roommate has hung this this Mexican pendant style bead thing from the rearview mirror of my truck, and in it is a blue feather.
Of
Like
course.
just right there.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay.
Well, I do have one more tool if I have time here. It's
Sure,
very
yeah.
quick. So it's really just a way to practice your thinking. So most people go in hindsight, they go, oh, look, I don't do that really well, or I messed up there. Okay. And the trick is to use your peripheral vision. And that is, oh, look, I'm in it right now. I'm doing that bad habit, or I'm thinking that bad thought. But what they usually do, most people do, is go, see, I can never do that. And what I encourage people to do is in that moment to celebrate the awareness. Even if you continue to do it, you still eat that ice cream, right? But you know it's not good for you, but you go, I'm going to celebrate this awareness. I'm going to celebrate this moment because I know if I can pull it to my peripheral vision, I can see it coming the next time or after some practice, and I can shake my finger at it and say, you're not going to get me this time. So the real key is celebrate when you have the awareness, even if you first thought is to beat yourself up because look, you're still doing it, but you're never going to get through it unless you celebrate it at that point.
Absolutely, I love that because like it goes back to the whole thing. Like it doesn't matter when you become aware of the bad habit. Catching it is catching it. Period. End of sentence.
Yes.
And
yes.
so like even if it's 3 months later, like you look back and you're like, oh,
yeah,
that's what I was doing. Congratulations, you
Yes,
caught it. Like you
exactly.
saw it.
And then you bring it up, and you practice. And I call
Yes.
it building the calisthenics for your mind, for your thinking. You
like it.
practice just like you would practice for a marathon.
I love that.
Yeah.
It's a great practice. I'm gonna try that out myself. I like that.
Okay, good.
So that's a powerful tool, and I love, it's inspiring. You have your personality, but also just who you're being is just you radiate this excitement and this possibility that every moment we have this choice, and it just is a reflection of just who you are and your energy and what you're creating in the world. And I wanted to well, we're gonna invite our next guest on in a moment here, but I wanted to ask you. We like inquiries in this space, but one inquiry I wanted to ask for you, and I'll ask JD as well. But what this is just to sit and to ponder on. But what is my highest aim? And this is a question you ask yourself. Like, what is my highest aim?
So, believe it or not, it's to bring play and purpose into people's lives. That energy of play and purpose and joy and celebration. I've always known since I was a little girl that my purpose was to bring joy into people's lives. And that energy to me is one that can heal anything. And so play and purpose and joy.
That goes back to just how we see the world. If we see this world as a prison, it's a prison. If we see this world as a playground, it's a playground.
Yeah.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you.
It's beautiful. Play and purpose. I mean, it makes sense. Just like you putting the words to that. You know, that's what I see and I hear from you, hear of you whenever you're sharing and speaking, and it's how you listen to the world, and that's what you bring, and it's just
Thank
I
you.
just acknowledge you for who you're being, and just creating that play and purpose, because that's the world I want to play in. That's the sandbox, and I'm excited to be in the sandbox with you, to play with
Thank
you
you.
and to collaborate.
Likewise, I adore both of you guys. So. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Christy. We're gonna check back in with Christy in a moment here. I'm
Thank
gonna
you,
invite our second guest in just a moment here, but I want to just take a quick moment to just invite you to be a part of the stage. I want to invite you to share your story, your gift, your unique genius. Why we've created this platform is for you to share the message and the experience and the wisdom that only you have, that others need to hear. What you have uniquely is what somebody else needs to hear today. And I think that's true in every case. You always have something to say, whether you recognize it or not. You have something uniquely that can lift somebody else up, and it's a power to recognize. But it's also like in Christy's sharing, it's like when you listen for that, you can bring that everywhere. And that's why we want to invite you to be a part of the stage. And this is part of our one-day mission, is bringing you and me and communities together in joyous celebration, unifying humanity in our diversity to create a better world for us all. And that's what this is about, one share at a time. And our next guest, JD, in just one moment here, but I want to just encourage you all, just to whatever it is that you're facing in in your life or in the world, and with the war in the world, and with the chaos in your life, or the serenity in your life, just to recognize your voice and your power when you're, as Christy said, when you're every day is play, when you're living in the play and the purpose of uniquely what you have. Imagine a world where you hold that space for everybody, and to just to bring that to your environment today. Don't worry about tomorrow, just start with today, and just imagine what we can create when we stand there. So now let me welcome our second guest. Please welcome to the stage JD Powers. Hi, JD.
Well, hi guys. Thanks for having me on. This is kind of new to me, but I'm just gonna do it anyway.
Just roll with it. You got this.
Yes, absolutely. Sometimes I think that I'm out of my comfort zone talking about myself for a couple 15 minutes. No, not really. I talk about myself all day. I tell everybody my story. It's like it's not even. I think sometimes I tell my story so much it loses its power, but only to me, because it's like I've told it so many times, but other people hear it and they're like, "Whoa!"
Yeah.
So, this is just a great platform to do it in. I've never even thought about doing something like this. My friend Molly, she was on here before, and she's like, "You really need to do this." I'm like, "No, I don't." she said, "Sure you do." I said, "All right, I'll do it." And so I did, and then I forgot about it, and then you called me back.
With us.
Thank you for being here.
Yeah, it's so good to have you, JD. And we've spoken a little bit, but I want to just let you jump in and just welcome to the stage, JD. And without further ado, JD, the stage is yours.
All right, so the stage is mine, which is crazy because now I'm just talking to myself. What am I gonna talk about? So in my quote, I said that our past does not define us, but it has refined us. And that carries weight with me because I have a story that's really heavy, and it's been a crazy life. I've been battling this addiction since I was 19. But like Matthew said, when I stopped fighting the addiction and started fighting for myself, that's when everything changed. That was the game changer for me. And so, and the craziest place that happens in, I made decisions early in my life, and not so early in my life, like 3 or 4 years ago, I got involved in this crazy relationship, and I walked out on reality, really. And then, as a result of this relationship and making decisions based on self that placed me in a position to be hurt, I I got to go to prison for 2 years, a year and a half. And I say I did. At first, it was like, why is this happening to me? Like Matthew said, why is it happening to me? Why, like, what I did wasn't that bad and blah, blah, blah. But, it really was that bad because it was a crime, bro. And so, the first part of my time there, first 3 months or so, it was always, why did this happen to me? Why is this happening to me? Like it's happening to me. And then I joined a program in prison, that it was a drug and alcohol program that helped us rearrange our thinking, change your thinking, change your life. It seems to be the message of the day, really. And that's what happened. I stopped wondering why this is happening to me, and I started asking myself, well, what am I supposed to bring to this? Who am I supposed to help while I'm here? What can I do while I'm here to make this better? So, people, the girls in there could figure out, maybe this wasn't this life for them. And then, just to be able to help themselves, because, stuck in this cycle of thinking where it's not doing us any good, but we don't know how to get out of it. And for the longest time, I didn't even know that there was a way to get out of it. I'm like, oh, this is just the way I think. This is the way it happens to me. So just go on about my life. Well, I figured out in that program that once I changed my relationship to the problem, the solution is right there. It stopped happening to me and it started happening for me. And so that's why I say I got to go to prison, because it was probably the best thing that's ever happened to me in my entire life. And, aside from, the great births of the kids and all those things, but that was the game changer for me, because when it stopped happening to me and started happening for me, then I was there to bring something. And I left prison in December of 2019, and I came home to a wonderful family that stuck by me thick and thin, no matter what. My husband is amazing. And my kids are just awesome too. And it takes work and, and just thinking about what I'm doing first before I can, before I jump into things like, oh, I want this back. I want to get this back. I want to do this for my kids or whatever. Well, what do they want? What do they want? What do they want in their life? Well, quit forcing your will onto people. And so that's what I did. And things just came back. I got a better relationship with my daughter. Like I said, I went home to my family, to my husband. And it's just, I got this, I started working for a little grocery store when I got home. And that job rolled into working at a nonprofit here in Carson City, doing work I've never done before. It was just a receptionist job, but it was my way to connect with the people that I wanted to help. I've always wanted to help people, and I try to do it from the grocery store, but it was, really not the platform. So I got to be able to help people. And then that job led to another job where I get right now where I work. I'm the program coach for a local nonprofit that we empower and we educate people to elevate themselves out of poverty. And we do that by working on the thinking. And so if we can change our thinking, we absolutely can change our lives. And that's definitely the message. My past is pretty bad. I've done a lot of things that I'm, not proud of, not, it's kind of embarrassing, but now I just have to find ways to laugh at it because it was so bad and so crazy. And so, what I've learned from that is that my past does not define me. I am not what I've done. I've not, that's not who I am. It's the things that I've done. And once I could separate that up, and then it's not that I'm a bad person because I did bad things. And like Matthew said, it's not either bad or good. It's what it is. It's, it's products of poor decision making and, just get trapped in that lifestyle and figure that's, it's it's not a lot in life, but it's my life, that thing, that your lot in life, something like that. But you know, but I learned how to change that because I learned how to change my thinking, change my relationship to the problem. And now I get to help people like that. I get to help people every day. Try to understand that once we recognize our own value, our own worth, that magical things can happen when we start believing that we deserve better. And and it does have nothing to do with what we did before. Just because I did some made some poor decisions and and got some pretty tough consequences, that doesn't mean that I don't deserve good things or deserve to have a good life. And I think a lot of people in addiction, that they get stuck in that. They think, oh, I just did bad stuff, so now I don't deserve anything better, so why try? So if we don't think we deserve anything better, we're definitely not going to go look for it. And my what do I think? When you're talking and you just forget what you're about to say, that just happened. And so that's kind of embarrassing, but it's okay. So I'll just pick up somewhere else, like I really liked what Abram and Matthew had to say, and Christy too, about the thinking, and the butterfly effect. I always think about that. Everything that I do affects someone somewhere down the road, something. And so whether I smile at somebody, down the road, coming in the store, whatever, hold a door, do something, smile at someone, and then that might change their thinking about for the rest of the day. They might do something better too. And it's just like, it doesn't have to be huge, giant, dramatic things. It just has to be authentic and real. It's there's a lot to be said for being authentic and real. Sometimes it's scary, and but nowadays I think that's like, there's strength in that. There's strength in the vulnerability. And then I always, I have some girls that I sponsor, and I tell them, listen, our strength is in our stories. If the way we can relate to someone, whatever I'm saying, wherever I'm talking to anybody, something I say is going to help someone down the road. And if I don't speak because I don't think that I have anything good to say, that's a whole bunch of ego getting in my way and getting in the way of helping someone else, because you never know what you say, how it's going to affect someone else. And so, like it or not, if you're, like you guys, like I said I was going to do this, and I'm thinking, oh God, I don't want to. I'm like, whatever, and then I think about it, and that's a whole bunch of ego getting in my way, because like you guys said, somebody somewhere this is going to help somebody somewhere, whether it's, and it doesn't have to be some great help either. It's just like, maybe lift them up for the day, make them smile. I love making people laugh. That is my thing. I'm with the humor. And it's not because I don't take stuff seriously, because, my life and the things I do is they're very serious, because affecting people's lives and affecting my own life. But I like to bring a lightness to it, because I think it takes the stigma and the judgment off of it if we can laugh about it. And I think that the more stigma and judgment we can remove from addiction, substance abuse, mental health issues, all kinds of things, that people will talk about it more. People will feel less judged when they do talk about them. It will bring about a conversation that can help people, because, we do things, or we don't seek help because we're afraid of what he's going to think, what she's going to think, what they're going to think. And so we shortchange ourselves a lot. And, there's certain stigma words, like anytime you say mental health, people think, oh man, you're calling me crazy. No, I said mental health. Everybody has mental health. It could be, could be lacking. It could be great, but if we're afraid to talk about these things, then they'll go untalked about. And then we're doing everybody a great disservice. So I like to keep my story light, and I talk about all kinds of things. Really, nothing's off limits, because something that I say is going to help somebody, or even just sitting down and talking with someone just to talk or whatever. And it's just going to be helpful. So let me see. I'm going to put my glass back on and see how much time I got left. Oh, wow. Look at me go. Okay. What else was I going to say? And the past doesn't define us, it refines us. So all the bad stuff that happens in, or the not so good stuff, say, or the painful things that happen, they're not meant to break us down and defeat us. If we change our perspective to it, then it can be the fuel that fuels us. Nobody would ever think that, going to prison was the best thing that ever happened to anybody. But I was able to turn that experience and use it for fuel to propel my way through getting, through the whole experience, getting out, doing, finishing my parole, taking care of business, getting back on track. And so it's hard, but it's not impossible. And so I think that mostly my experience my story is a story of hope, because I've been battling addiction since I was 19. And so as soon as, I went to prison when I was 47, and and not the first time, by the way, either, So but when I got out, when I was there, I really got what was going on. I never wanted to go back there again. And so I was ready to do anything and everything to change, something, so I wouldn't have to go back. And, in that program in prison, they said, okay, do A, B, and C. And I said, okay, A, B, and C. Now where's D, E, and F? And so I just did it the way they said to do it. And miracles happen, change happens. And I'll never regret having to go there. And I used to be so mad about, the person that I was with, and I, ended up doing prison time for something, something we both did, but, why didn't he get punished too? Well, it doesn't matter why he didn't get punished. It was because this was supposed to happen in my life. This was the defining moment in my life that was going to make a difference to the rest of my life. And so I got to be clear-headed and open-minded enough to be in that experience and take away what I needed from it. And now I get to share the same knowledge, because I saved all my stuff from prison, and I'm like, where can I help? Where can I put this into use at? And the crazy thing is, the universe lines up, and now I'm in a job, in a labor of love, really, that allows me to share that information and help people with it. So I really did get a chance to help people with that information. So, ask for things, that was like my version of holding the blue feather. Held it in my mind long enough, and then dang, I found opportunities to do it. And it's crazy, because when Matthew said it was, we'll find whatever you're looking for. I was thinking that exact same thing this morning. Crazy, and it wasn't for this or anything like that. It was just somebody else I was working with. And I'm like, whatever we're going to look for, pain, problems, people talking about me? Are they doing this because of me or whatever? You're going to look for that. You're definitely going to find it. You're going to find yourself not really happy and unable to get outside yourself to look for the solution. Look for the problem, you're going to find the problem. You look for solution, you're going to find the solution. And you might have to go to 30, 40, 50 solutions before you really find the right one. But that's the cool thing about, problem solving and brainstorming, is that brainstorming is called a storm for a reason, because it's crazy and like a tornado. And so then you see what works, doesn't work, go by the next one. See what that doesn't work, get to the next one. And so there's always a solution. It might not be the exact one we're looking for, but it's something to get us to the next solution. Like everything's a vehicle to get us to the next place in life. And I think that's I think that's enough rambling and all over the place for me.
Oh, perfect. Thank you so much, JD, for sharing. I just appreciate your. I'm going to put your quote up here too, because you said it. But I love it. Our past does not define us, but it has refined us. And I love in your story. I love your openness about your past
Oh yeah.
and how you describe it is it's like how you made poor decisions, but now how you're able to laugh at it, like how you even it's almost like it's a different person, like you like recognized, you know but you're not holding on to it, or you're not, it's like what you're seeking. You're not seeking to be trapped anymore, and
Yeah.
it's like it's beautiful to just hear you talk about it in such a light way, overcoming all that you have overcome, and now to be here to not have guilt or shame about it, but to actually laugh at it. I think it's so powerful to have laughter about your
Yes.
past.
Well, thanks.
So there was something you said that I wonder if you could tease out a little bit more about, talking about not getting stuck in that idea of I don't deserve this because of all these decisions I made in the past.
Oh,
When did that flip for you? Like what flipped that for you, and like when did that flip?
okay, so all the flipping happened in prison. I really did. I didn't realize how much or how little or whatever that I didn't value myself. I didn't find that I was worth anything. And I think that ends up from before I went to prison, because it's like I felt so crappy inside that I really needed to make my outsides match my insides. And so, put people around me that, that weren't, didn't have my best interest at heart. And so I put myself with people that treated me like I felt, like really not, I feel ugly and worthless inside. And so I made sure to surround myself with people that felt the same way. And that's why I walked out, I walked out on a family for that. But when I got to prison, I, it was, I don't know. It's like they say that you do the esteemable acts, that's how you get self-esteem, it's because that's something you did, but only you could do. So, wake up, show up, have an open mind, try to help. And then I start finding, value in myself. And then there's the self-respect that comes in that I had no idea that I didn't have any, that it didn't ever dawn on me that way. And so now I figure I started valuing myself more. And so if I value you, I think that you deserve all the good things. I mean, I don't care what you've ever done, but if I value you, you deserve good things. So why can't I offer that to my own self? And so I started, it's weird, but they say to date yourself. So all the things that you want to give to other people, and, that are willing to give to other people, this love, this caring, this, just I'd do anything for you attitude. Why can't I do that for me? And so I kind of started doing that for me. So all the things that I wanted to give to other people, I gave to myself. So, and then I found value in that. And so then now I I know I deserve good things, because, it's what I did before. It's not who I am. It's just what I did. And so there's that separation. And so, and that's where everything changed really, when I started valuing my own self.
Yeah, it's so powerful how how you've overcome that, and how you're sharing it now in just such a powerful way. And you said, I think paraphrasing something, you said to the effect of, we seek what we think we deserve, and like, what do
Yeah.
you like, and I think that correlates just like a lot just in the experience of our life. Like I think it's our experience of ourself, and our measure of joy to suffering, I think very much correlates to what we feel we deserve. And I wonder, what would you say to somebody who's on that path right now, who's maybe dealing with suffering, or is just tired of the suffering but wants to overcome, no, it's starting to discover that they deserve more. Like, what do you say to someone who's looking and searching and the edge, looking over that that valley?
I'm not sure exactly what I would say. It's more like a feeling of, bro, you're not by yourself. You're not alone in this. And, I will hold your hand. We'll walk side by side through this. You're not alone, because you deserve to have people with you. And I think that when people start to understand that they have somebody next to them, it's like like support is huge. Relationships, and not like boyfriend girlfriend relationships, just relationships with other people, your support system, things like that. I would just say, you know, look at this. If you didn't deserve to have good things in your life, I definitely wouldn't be here because I'm a good thing, right? So, so that's what I would tell them. But I also like to tell my girls that I sponsor that, you know, never put your safety, your sanity, and your sobriety in the hands of someone else. You know, and I think that if they can do that, you know, their self-worth or their self-respect, don't put those keys in anybody else's pocket, because then it's not your own.
Also, I feel like you are being an example of that. Like, um, you've been through the shit.
Yeah.
Like literally, you've been through it, and you've done it.
Through it.
And now you're on the other side, and you're offering value.
Yes.
And so, like, I feel like you're this beautiful example of just exactly what you're talking about. Of you know, just because someone has done supposedly awful things doesn't mean that they aren't valuable and they don't deserve good things.
Exactly.
And so, like, just being you, I feel like you're just like leading people into that, because like they see you out here doing this amazing work now, and you're so open about your past, so they know where you've been, they know what you've done.
Yeah.
And they see that it's possible.
Yes. I'm a beacon of hope. No, I'm
Exactly.
I always say that too. I'm like, I am a beacon of hope.
It's beautiful and it's contagious. I want to bring Christi back here in just a second, but first I want to ask you the same inquiry I asked her. And so the question
What's my
is,
highest aim?
What is my highest aim?
My highest aim is to, like you said, to help, to not even to help, but just like to serve people, you know, for people to understand that they're valuable and that anything can happen. You can change anything at any point in your life. You know, I'm like 50 years old and I just started adulting. So, you know, you can do it. Like I got credit cards and a credit score now and all kinds of things. So it's like, you know, it's never too late. And so my highest aim is to help people to understand that, given the right set of, you know, thought processes in just your value in yourself, you can do anything at any point in time. You don't have to wait. You don't have to be like, oh, it's too late. Or, you know, I didn't do this, so I can't do this. No, everybody can do something. Hope is real and everybody needs it. So maybe my highest aim is to instill hope in people.
Oh, beautiful.
Absolutely.
Ah, thanks.
And as they say, the proof is in the pudding, right? So, like, if you don't believe any of this, well, we've given you a couple of exercises. Try them. See what happens, right? Like,
Exactly.
prove it to yourself. You don't have to believe us.
Yeah. Like do it in the closet, way in your way back. You know, nothing thinking about the changing. You know, changing your thinking. Nobody has to see that. Nobody has to see what you're doing. You could just change. You know, change this thought to that thought, and then the feeling changes, the behavior changes, the consequences are different. Everything you can change, and I didn't even know that. I'm like, oh, I can change one thought, and everything gets different. Bro, mind blowing, super mind blowing.
You know, it almost feels counterintuitive that we have the ability to do that, and it's funny. And I use this metaphor a lot of, like, you know, it's like a garden. How it's like basically what Matthew said at the beginning. It's like whatever we water is what grows.
Oh yeah,
and
absolutely.
we can water being a victim and be justified. You know, life could be handing us a whole dish of everything we don't want, and we can be a victim of it. You know, we can be a victim of our experience and just say, like, see how terrible this is, see how hard my life is, and just get my watering can, just kind of just, you know, just like, look how hard it is, look how hard my life is. And it's, you know, if whatever we water, whatever we focus on is what grows. And that's true with the blue feather, and it's true for, you know, war. You know, and you know, any and everything in between, and it's just a testament to, you know, just connecting the dots. And I want to give you both an opportunity to share about what you both heard in each other's sharing. But what I hear is just like the way we change our thinking about our past is our access to actually having a blank canvas for a future that we create right now in the present.
Mhm.
And it's like, you both embody that, how you're taking the power of your context and your thinking to water those seeds to create new realities that, creating a life for yourself, but also in every space you exist, people you're around, you bring that hope, you bring that fun and fulfillment. And it just, both of your stories are a testament to that. And I'm just giddy about it. It's really
I wanted to say to JD that how many people have walked out of prison and just came out as the victim,
Oh,
and
yeah.
so it's really a testament to the fact that your thinking, your work that you did, your awarenesses that you developed are how you changed your life. And that is such a good model for everyone else, is like, just make your choices about what you do with what's in front of you.
Yeah.
My mentor says, use what you have, and what you have is much more than you think. And
Yes.
so to really, to make the choices you made, they're really beautiful. And how lucky those girls are, your mentors are, to have
They
you in
kind of were,
there.
yeah. No.
Yeah. I worked with teens for many years, and I actually taught in a youth at risk high school as well. And just offering, belief in people, in young people,
Yes.
it just makes such a difference. Yeah.
Thank you. That's what's up. Because, it's like, and in your sharing, I just love that you have, so much of a mind to, okay, so to see all the things that you saw, you visualize when you're at the edge of the cliff, you visualize, the God is telling you, if you go back to where you were, you're not lost. And, if you go any further, you're in danger. So, in knowing that, but then listening to it too, and not
Yes.
going, oh no, now I know best
No,
because
my
I'm smart.
group's up there. I mean, that's what, that was the first thought. I
Yeah.
have to keep finding my group, but then when I just stopped that thought and listened
Mm-hmm.
and centered myself. Yeah. I did want to say one thing about that I love that you illustrated as well, is that when there's one really powerful and positive way to let go of being a victim, and that is to give up blame. And that's
Yeah.
exactly what you did. You stopped blaming outside of yourself. And taking responsibility is different than being blamed. But when it's responsibility, you can do something with it. When it's somebody, you're blaming somebody outside of you, you are always going to be at the control of that thought.
Yes. Be
Yeah.
in their control. Because if I'm waiting for somebody else to do something and change something, and I'm just waiting on that, I'm waiting on that. But if I realize that this is okay, so this is a problem I created, now what am I going to do?
Yeah.
Cool. Now I got choices, and choices
Yeah.
are cool. And then also what I was going to say is, I never really understood how much time is in between the thought and the action. There's like eons of time in there. I had no idea about that. I'm like, oh, I don't have to say something right after you say it, or I don't, it's like, oh, there's the thought. Okay, situation happens. Here's the thought. Let me think about it. Does not require an immediate response. Never knew that. And so it's like, oh, okay, that makes all the difference too. Like, there's a lot of time in there.
Something Abram said earlier, I'd like to bring it back around to, and that's justification. And it's kind of similar to what you two were just talking about a second ago too. Because like, it feels like we as humans have the ability to justify anything,
Oh yeah.
like anything. And so, like,
Yeah.
here's a question. I just want to pass this around the group. What's something you like look back on now as absolutely crazy, but you were so justified in doing it in the moment? And like, I'll start because this may seem really mundane to a lot of people, but to me, like looking back, it's the craziest thing in the world to me that I ever did this, and that was have a full-time job. Why? Like, why would I do that? I don't understand. Like, I mean, if I go back and put myself in the mindset, I can understand how I justified it. Like, it was like, I need the money to pay the bills, to put food on the table. Like, I can't survive without money. That was the justification. I can't survive without money. And it took several years of very hard traveling and living on the streets and like just always having what I needed whenever I needed it to realize that no, I don't actually need money to survive. Like, and once I realized that, then the need for the job left. And once the need for the job left, then like all of a sudden this whole new space of possibility opened up and like my life started becoming magical in many, many ways. So like, I'm just going to go in the order on that I see you guys on my screen. So JD, what's something that you used to justify that like you could consider absolutely crazy now?
Listen, that's a long, long list because I used to justify everything. And most of my justification was because I need it. I want it. It's, and that I think that's, the addiction lifestyle and, living in the streets, crime, all that stuff. It's like there's so many things that I justified, like, oh, well, I need this money to do this. So, maybe it was like stealing stuff or something like that. Cause I mean, that's part of my past too. So it's like, I needed that. You're not going to miss it or insurance is going to cover it or whatever. So like, I'm taking it. No, it's not yours, bro. So, I mean, like I said, it gets super crazy, but there's a lot of things. It's a long list.
Yeah, I actually had a really good justification for shoplifting back in the day too, and that was
Okay.
Stores build shoplifting into their prices. So if you don't shoplift, you're giving them free money.
Yes,
Like that
yes,
was.
yes, absolutely. And then also there's that. Well, you know what? I'm training the loss prevention guys because now they know what to look for. Right. Mhm.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, all kinds of that. The
Giving
craziness
the
that
security
happens,
guard a
like,
job. Yeah.
yeah, it's like it's so much easier just to go to work than it is to go, shoplifting everywhere all over town, which is so much easier just to go get a job. It really was. But at the time it wasn't though. At the time it was like I need the chaos because this is what I do. It fills my time, right?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah. Exactly. Christy, what about you?
Oh, the only thing I could think of was when I was 18 years old, I decided to hitchhike from Oregon to Florida and back. And I actually even did that. I had met a guy 2 weeks before at a party and said, "Hey, I'm doing this. Want to go with me?" And we went all well. So I was going through Texas and then going to go to Florida, and I got partway through, and my uncle heard from my mom that I was on my way out there, and not only was I hitchhiking, but that she had taken me to the freeway. And I heard word that I needed to call my uncle, and he said, "If you continue to hitchhike, you're not coming here." So I caught a bus for that part of there. And then this is kind of the power of thinking, right? And then my cousins decided to take a trip to Florida. So the four of us went to Florida. And so I made my trip all the way to Florida by in a safer way in that way. Now you have to remember that was way back in history when it was a little bit safer to travel via that mode. But the other thing that was really important of it, now it's not stupidity. It is that I don't live from fear. And I know people that go and do the same thing that I do, but they go into it with fear and they get that result of it. And I mean, I traveled to Europe on my own when I was 20 years old. And I actually even hitchhiked in Europe, and it was because and there's a law called the law of sacrifice, and when I share that with people, they go, "Oh, I don't want to sacrifice." But the law of sacrifice is having a passion great enough and a truth great enough that you're willing to give up what holds you back, or to do the things that allow you to do that. So in order for me to go to Europe and travel on my own like that, I had to go with confidence, with belief and trust. I got to the airport. My brother took me to the airport for that trip. And he says, how much money do you have? I was going for like 3 months, right? And I said, $200. He goes to the ATM machine and gets me some money, and then my family kind of rallied and sent me some money. And, it's like courage. So there's this chart called by David Hawkins, and it shows the vibrational frequency of different emotions. And it's like fear and guilt, and all of those are really low vibrational frequencies there. And then the other ones are like joy and love and peace and all of those. But the one that changes right between the negative and the positive is courage. It takes courage to begin. And you talked about that, JD, too, that you started to have the courage to think thoughts, to test them out and to see. And it really takes courage and a positive belief system in order to I think navigate this world as, oh my gosh, the amazing world that it is. I'm in my art studio right now, and I have my paintings all around me. I have it's like, what a playground. Life is just so juicy. And how many people do we know that say, I grew up really poor, but I never let that get to me as a child. I found ways to play, to be joyful, to engage in people. I'm a very big extrovert, so it was always like, let's play. So
I used to cry when people talk to me.
I always talk to everybody. I probably made a few of you cry. Yeah.
I appreciate that. It's funny too. Like I can't tell you how many times I've hitchhiked, and how many of these magical things have happened just from having the courage to do it. I travel a lot, and I feel like there's two types of travelers. There's those who lose their luggage and those who don't.
I love that. Yeah.
What do you think the difference is between the two?
Their thought process.
Exactly.
Yeah. So Abram, what's yours? Yeah, everybody else.
Yeah.
So what I'm present to, I think, there's a lot of examples I could probably justify, that I could point to, but I think one of the biggest ones for me is probably because it started between 4th and 5th grade. I started getting teased and picked on, and what I justified is trying to convince people that I was enough, that I fit in and I belonged. It was like this fork in my life of I went this path of, just in a response to try to survive. I tried to be a nice guy and a people pleaser. So and I think that was like kind of it was like a turtle in the shell. So I justified, fitting in and making people trying to be liked and understood. And that was, or it has been for my whole life. That's been a whole, I could justify, myself out in and out of a paper bag. I could justify that all day. And it's like, and in my experience, just like kind of summing up what everyone shared is like, it's like, whether it's blame, guilt, or shame, it always, and I don't think there's an exception, it's always avoiding responsibility for our own experience, for our own thoughts, for our own feelings. And it's like, it's something like, because it's so silly, because I appreciate the question, Matthew, but it's like, because I just think about all the experiences that I could have handled differently if I wasn't trying to fit in or make people like me, or just played along and laugh too, instead of this is what it means, this because they said this, that's what it means. I made it mean something. I made it mean that I have to push the other way. I went against the river, instead of saying, it's like, oh, it's funny you think that, and it's like, kind of just go about it, and it's like, that is probably the biggest justification, amount. If I had a checklist of all the hours of my life of what I spent of all the justifications in my life, that's probably on the top tier for me.
Honestly, that's probably one of the biggest ones too. That's something that I see all the time in my life, all the things that I do just to try to fit in.
Oh yeah.
And it's just at the root of it, it's like this. It's this uncomfortableness with being alone.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Like
with
just
my clients, I would say that I know absolutely. I say often to them, even I say 90% of what I work with people are their lack of self-esteem, lack of belief in themselves. And then I'll say, but I bet it's 100% because really
Yeah.
it's almost like the human condition.
Yeah. And, like how Abraham said, trying to, accept that you are enough, that I'm enough. I went through that when I was a kid in school too. I always felt different. Like there was something up with me, like for like the longest time. Could never put my finger on it, but I did not fit in with you guys or with anybody else. I was different. I never felt like I belonged. And so then I was always trying to do something to be enough. And so, like I said, since, when I was younger, I would cry when people talked to me. Um, you know, so that's when I started drinking in high school, because I needed to be funny. I needed to be out there. I needed to be, have this grand personality, but I couldn't do that without liquor on board. So, I started drinking because it did something for me. And that's, and so then it just, wakes a sleeping dragon that just can't be stopped until I'm like 47 now. Oh crap, I'm 50 now. I mean, I forgot.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah, so it's like, it's always just trying to be enough or trying to feel like you're enough or just accepting, yes, bro, you are enough. I'm enough. You're enough.
yeah.
We don't have to do anything extra. We're enough.
It is our
It takes
divine nature.
courage.
It is our divine nature. And when we are anything other than that is when we experience struggle or being stuck, and when we forget who we truly are. And we are not the great exception to the rule. We are all, made in the image and likeness.
Mhm.
We are the expression.
Right. And like what Christi was saying, it all begins with courage. Like it's the courage to even just consider that there's nowhere to fit in. There's nothing to fit into. It's just being just that expression of our whole true self is actually not only enough, but it actually ironically brings all the right people to us. It like brings all the right circumstances to us and situations, and whether they're they're great, uplifting, or they're treacherous, scary situations. It gives us access to the greatest fulfillment in life, is and beyond what the limited thoughts of survival mind tell us are available.
Yeah.
And I think you're both just, again, you're a testament to what's possible when we do take responsibility for our thinking, but also rise above our past and let it present those things that happened as something that actually is a value for others, that we can lift others up. And it's just like, I'm just so inspired by both of you. And I'm just so it was such a amazing conversation, and I'm just so, I want to give you both a chance to say any last words, but I'm inspired right now. Thank you for being here.
Let's see. I don't think I might have some last words because I talk a lot. So last words being, like when you were talking about, we have to do this and do that to fit in, to do that, because then we become a human doing rather than a human being. And I feel like right now I'm the human being. I'm just being. I'm not trying to do all this extra stuff or do something to make this person like me or that thing or whatever. I'm just me. I'm free to be me. And so I've now become a human being, and rather than a human doing.
I love it.
Well, I just think that we all have the opportunity to create our own GPS, our own PGS, our own personal guidance system, and that it's really important to know who we are and to know that we are, like I said, the expression of the divine, and anything unlike that, you can let go of, and you can just embrace your greatness. Notice all of the different unique gifts that we bring to the world. We are all unique, and we are all an expression of moving in the direction of greater life, greater living, greater expression, greater service. And we just get to, like you said, be that. Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you both. It's such a powerful context to really to stand from when we look, we observe our lives and observe just our thinking. What, like, it's amazing what's possible when we get outside of the limited thinking and the beliefs that hold us back. And again, both your stories are really a testament to that.
Thank
So
you.
thank you both.
Thanks.
Absolutely, ladies. Thank you. It has been a pleasure having you both on. And as always, I'm just consistently amazed at how things just kind of sync up. Like, we don't plan any of this,
Yeah.
It just
No
it
need
works.
to. Yeah, it just comes
Yeah.
together. Yeah. So thank
Such
you both again.
Thank you guys. You're
Thank you
awesome.
guys.
I love hanging out with you guys.
And like I said, I love talking about myself too. So just kidding.
You're worth talking about.
I'm just
Yeah,
playing.
absolutely.
It's got to stay
Well,
funny. We got to stay
Yeah.
funny. Really, we do.
it's true. What's the point if it's not funny? There's no fun and there's nothing to laugh about. Well, thank you again, Christi and JD. I'm gonna take a moment just to check back in with the audience and just thank you for being here with us. What this stage is about you. It's about the unique gift and the unique genius that you have to share. And again, I want to invite you to share on the stage, to be a part of this movement. And we want to invite you to share your gift and your voice and your what you've overcome in your life is something that can, again, it lifts others up, and we don't know who and when, but it's like when we share, something magical happens. We get out of our own story, our own victim mentality, and we see something greater when we can hear the courage of someone else and find that for ourselves, as both Christi and JD shared about. And real quick, I also want to say, if you have a story that the world needs to hear, that you have something that it's so important that you have something that you're up to something that's great, and the world needs to hear your message, because I would assert you do. I want to invite you to, we are seeking authors to be a part of our book, and I want to invite you. This book here is a movement. It is a stand for a new paradigm, an invitation for us humans to lift each other up, no matter where we are, no matter what color or creed, no matter what politics or gender. We have something unique that can raise up our neighbors all over the world. And that's what this movement is about. And part of the one day movement, what our vision here is about is humanity is rising in a connected world. Each person's unique gifts and genius and contributions are being valued and magnified through a higher level of collaboration, producing unprecedented new realms of possibility. That's what this is about. And you have something unique. You have a unique brilliance and genius that, when you have the courage to share and to shine and to just be your truest self, just like Christi and just like JD, you move mountains, you move communities, you move hearts and minds, and that's what it takes. Like, that's how we create the future of our dreams, is we have the courage to share our experience, and we create that future for our families, for our communities, for our countries, for our world, and we go beyond whatever we saw as possible before. But I love you all. So good to be with you. Thank you for being with us. We'll see you next week. Be safe, be well, and as always, one day is today. Peace, everybody. Thanks again, Christi and
Aloha.
JD.